to the internet world out there. I haven't really posted videos lately for a really good reason, that being school, and it's been busy. But here I am with another video since it's a school evening and I've got nothing to do. So I've got some interesting stuff today that I think all of you out there would love, and rail fans out there and just genuine people would love these railways, especially with their views and beautiful sightseeing things. I am here to explain some railways to ya and the reasons why I would suggest them. And these are railways from Maine, not from other states, since I've only been to one or two railways in New Hampshire. So, without further ado, let these Maine railroads, steam operated or diesel, be presented. Here are the main railroads that you should ride on. With the intro being finished, I really am going to start with some stuff. 1. Some of the events that I'm going to be talking about I haven't written on, so I'll only give you bare bones facts that are from the internet or on their website. So let's start with the two first railways. The Maine Narrow Gauge Museum and the WW&FRR Museum, being short for the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington Museum. The reason why I'm starting with these two is because both railways are so intertwined with each other, it's so hard to explain just one or the other. So, let's start with the steam locomotive roster for the Maine Narrow Gauge Museum. Monson number 3 and Bridgeton and Saco River Railroad number 7, as pictured here. Bridgeton and Saco River Railroad number 8, and Monson Railroad number 4, with several 1900s coaches and cabooses. Note that these are absolutely beautifully restored cars, and I definitely suggest anyone to ride in them. The railway was started in 1992 after the Edaville Railway shut down due to financial problems, and then the railway bought all the Edaville Railway's rolling stock, which included 4 steam locomotives, which would operate on the railway until 2003. Note that I might do a whole history video on this, so I won't give a full history. And since the locomotives operated until 2003, some of them were given a restoration and then were returned back to steam while the diesels operated. This is very, very great, but without enough about me talking about the locomotives and rolling stock, let's talk about the railway itself. It's a beautiful 2.1 to 2.5 mile short line that operates on beautiful Casco Bay in Portland, Maine. Sights that you may see are just lobster boats going all over the place, and occasionally you'll see a cruise ship or two. With beautiful views of the ocean, astonishing views of the woods, and amazing views of just Maine, I definitely suggest this railway to anybody. Just normal, ordinary Joes that are normal people, or just really, really big rail fans. So with the fact that these two would be very interested, I definitely would suggest this. The fact that this railway still exists today is pretty much surprising, and I also used to go on this railway as a little kid. Now let's start with the special trains that I would suggest. The only one that I can really suggest is the Polar Express, their biggest train of the year, with normal amounts being 10,000 to 20,000 people just to ride the train, but with COVID it was, of course, lowered. But the other two railway trains I cannot explain because I haven't ridden on them are the ice cream train and the diesel engineer train. The diesel engineer train I want to go on so badly. Mainly because you get to be with a special diesel engineer and ride in the cab of a diesel, but it costs $150. In conclusion, I think this railway is a great railway and everyone should ride on it. Our next railway is one that is just a little bit more north. Down in Alna, Maine, just out of Wiscasset, you'll find this tiny little railway called the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington. The Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington is a cute little line that operates trains all the time. It has a very unique piece of equipment. One of the locomotives pictured here is Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington number 9. I might do a whole history video talking about all 6 main steam excursion stars sometime, so be on the lookout for that. Number 9 basically was owned by 4 different railways before becoming an excursion engine. It's a long story. But this tiny locomotive is their oldest locomotive of the fleet, being built in 1891. Not 1991, but 1891. The locomotive is their biggest piece of operating and is a very, very unique locomotive. There's another locomotive, number 10, which I have never ridden on. I really want to ride on her someday. The smallest piece of equipment, in my point of view, is Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington Railway number 52, which is just a tiny Plymouth diesel locomotive, and is a pretty neat little one. But the next locomotive is a track car that is 51. Here are some pretty big events that they host. I've been working on the railroad event, which I want to go on, which basically has you do the work of a railway. I almost went on this one, but I didn't. And the one pictured here, which I did go on, is the Steam and Sleighs trip. Very fun trip. I suggest it for anyone. Again, it is perfect for all ages. Another one I want to do is the track car event. And yes, I know it has you pumping a rail car up and down the line. I haven't ridden on this one yet, and I want to. I can hike a mountain, but I just can't pump a car 4 miles down the track. So what do I think about this railway? This railway is a beautiful 2-foot line that has beautiful trees and a beautiful river. And I definitely would rate both these railways at a 9.1 and the beautiful lines. Our next railway is much less known compared to the other two that we just talked about. Here is the lower half, and this is the Belfast and Moosehead Lake Railway. The two locomotives pictured here are 51 and 53. Wait. No, it's... But the railway is a beautiful medium length line, being about a good, 30 miles long of restored track, although they don't use all of it anymore. But the railway was once working for the town of Belfast, having ideas to go as far as Moosehead Lake, but was convinced by the Maine Central to go to one of their interchange yards, which wasn't a bad idea. I suggest this railway for a unique diesel roster, which consists of a GE 70-tonner switcher diesel locomotive. There are several of these. A GE 44-tonner diesel locomotive, a GE 45-tonner diesel locomotive, an electric motive GP 40-2LW locomotive, and a GP9 and a GP9D. This railway is a really fun railway, and it has a lot of beautiful views of Maine, including a very fine ride over a river where you might see canoeists, and you can see Unity Pond very well from the train. With beautiful wood views and beautiful surroundings, even maybe seeing a bird or two, I absolutely had a fun time on this railway. Just letting you guys know, it is just a really fun line for anybody. For the rail fans, it would be for the unique diesel roster, and out of the railways I've been on, it's probably one of the most unique outside of the Conway Scenic Railway, which only has a lot more diesels, including a streamliner. So, this railway was cool. And people might be asking me, what rating would I give this, since I gave a rating for the last railway? And by the way, these are just ratings for the main railroads, not every railway. The rating I would give for this railroad is an 8.7. Well, it's not as high as the Maine Narrow Gauge Museum, and this is just my opinion. They've just got a more bigger of a heritage fleet than these guys, being steam locomotives. So, I gave them a higher rating. These guys have a cool roster too. So, in conclusion, I think it's a great railway, one that everyone should try out at some point, and it would be a great railway for anyone to check out. What railway could top the three that we have gone on about so far? At least in my opinion. Because it's a childhood railway. The Downey Scenic Railway. I mean, you guys should have seen this coming. Especially since I've already done a video on it, talking about the whole timeline. Go to my channel to check it out. The Downey Scenic Railway is probably, in my opinion, one of my favorite railways that I've been on so far. My opinion might change later on if I go on more railways. The Downey Scenic Railway is a beautiful 3.5 to 4 mile line. 6 miles when you go down the Union River and back to Washington Junction. The railway was and is one of the most beautifully restored lines I've seen so far, and has a beautiful lineup of diesel locomotives. And for just 3 locomotives, it's so diverse. You've got an Alco S4 1055 pictured here, a GE 70-tonner of 54, which I unfortunately do not have any photos of, a GE 30-tonner of 53, which I don't have any photos of, and a very unique line of rolling stock. Going over a river and through the woods, and no, we're not going to grandmother's house. We're going to Ellsworth Falls. The railway is a beautiful little line that is very, very cool and goes through wetlands as well. So what do I think about it? It's a great railway for anyone that's new to the hobby, or for anyone that's just looking to have fun and have a calming, relaxing trip. This line is absolutely great. Their conductors are very kind. Like, they won't be rude to you or anything. That's the same way with all the other railways on this line. On this lineup of railways. So, if you're lucky enough when you're going through the wetlands to see an osprey or an eagle or something like that, you're pretty lucky. So what would I rate this railway out of all the railways we've been on today? A 9.0. Now, why do I rate it so high? It hits home for me. I live close to it, and it brings back so many childhood memories. I just can't remember a time where the Downey Scenic has been out of my life. The railway line is a beautiful little line and shows Maine at its finest. With beautiful trees, some flatland, beautiful wetlands, and amazing things. So in conclusion, I would suggest this line to absolutely anybody that's looking to have a fun time. This is one great line, and is something that I love very, very much. So everybody, that's been all the main railroads I've been on and would suggest to you. This is Jack, signing off. Have a very great day, night, or morning, wherever you are. This is Jack, signing off. Have a great day.